Hello, Bobcats. Still reading One Crazy Summer. This is Mrs. Halleman, and we are on chapter 22, Itsy Bitsy Spider. Bonetta couldn't stop practicing her poem. Well, it wasn't hers. She got it from a book of Negro poets at the center. If she couldn't sing her song, she would recite a poem all by herself. It wasn't enough for Bonetta to say her poem, which was actually Gwendolyn Brooks' poem titled We Real Cool. Bonetta tried to be her poem. Since there was no applause from Firm and me the first time around, she started up again, as zombie-like as she could, to imitate the tough standing around outside the pool hall. If Big Ma heard Bonetta and saw her standing like a shiftless bun on the corner, we'd be on the next plane back to New York City. Bonetta was into a groove and couldn't be stopped. She started up again, saying every line of We Real Cool as loud as she could, in case Cecile hadn't heard her. I would have done both Bonetta and Cecile a favor by giving her a quick swift kick, but I didn't care if Cecile yelled at her. I didn't care if Bonetta disturbed Cecile's peace of mind. So I let Bonetta recite We Real Cool on and on. Bonetta was a perfectionist, but only about certain things. Things that would get her noticed or earn her applause. Big Ma said Bonetta wouldn't be such a throw-off if Cecile had picked Bonetta up more when she was a baby hollering in her crib. I didn't need a flash of memory to recall Bonetta's crying. She cried loudly and a lot. Our door was open, and Cecile was in the living room, lying on her beat-up sofa. Cecile could hear Bonetta perfectly well. Bonetta had said this poem 7 times so far. I was certain her aim was to say it 10 times each night, but Cecile didn't let her get that far. It took only 6 angry foot stomps for Cecile to make it back to our room. Cut that crap out. That's not even a poem. I could have knocked that out in my sleep. You think Gwen Brooks was some sort of genius. Then she stomped away, this time into the kitchen. I heard her hand smack the swinging door hard. Back in the 4th grade, my teacher would have had us lay our hands on our desk after we came in from recess. She would recite poetry to calm us down and get us ready to learn more science or history. Robert Frost, Emily Dickinson, Countee Cullen, and William Blake, all fine poems who we should know, she'd say. Well, I knew a real live poet. I didn't know how fine Cecile's poetry was, but I had seen her writing poems in the kitchen and sometimes on the walls or in cereal boxes. Who else in my classroom could claim they knew a poet and that it was their mother? So on the afternoon that Robert Frost's horse had clip-clocked through the snow, I raised my hand and told the class my mother was a poet. Now, Daphne, Mrs. Peterson said, nice girls don't tell their classmates lies. She kept me after school and told me she'd know the truth about how my mother had left home, and then wanting a mother was no excuse for dreaming one up. I couldn't leave the classroom until I'd written, I will not tell lies in class, 25 times on the blackboard. Then it had to erase the board clean. Bonetta sulked something pitiful when Cecile told her to cut it out. Bonetta only heard that her recitation stunk. She wasn't thinking about how Gwendolyn Brooks was a great Negro poet, and that Cecile, also called Nazilla, was printing her own poems in the kitchen. Last year, Bonetta practiced her curtsying more than she practiced her rings and time steps for the tip-top-tap recital. She fell on her fanny in the middle of her solo and was miserable for days. Usually I'd pick up Bonetta's broken spirits until she was once again crowy and showy, but this time I let her sulk after received no praise from Cecile. Serves you right, I thought. Just to be evil, I rubbed it in with an insult. I don't know why your lip is hanging, I said. You're just like her. We both knew which her I meant. I said that to make her feel mad on top of being hurt. Just like I know how to lift my sisters up, I also know how to needle them just right. Am not. Are two. We did a few rounds of that, then a final not and two. Okay, Bonetta, suppose you were supposed to be going to be on TV. She perked up on that one. playing Tinkerbell on Walt Disney's Wonderful World of Color. But it was the PTA night, our school talent night, and your little girl, Ludy Bell, Fern added in. Ludy Bell, I picked up, glad to have Fern's support, had a part in Itsy Bitsy Spider, in her Itsy Bitsy Spider costume, and she'd been practicing Itsy Bitsy Spider and song and dance for days, weeks, a whole 2 months. The Itsy Bitsy Spider went up the water spout. I knew I could count on Fern to climb high with that tiny, teeny voice. Bonetta sat there, defiant, unmoved, proving my point. It was like looking dead at Cecile. A shiny white Cadillac comes to carry you off to Tinkerbell on TV, but your precious little girl, Ludy Bell is standing at the door in her costume, waiting for you to take her to school talent night. What would you do? That's easy, Bonetta said. I'd get in a shiny white Cadillac with a matching white vanity bag and luggage. And what about your little girl in her costume? I asked. Yeah, what about Ludy Bell in her costume wanting to dance for her mama? Each and every one of us knew the feeling of having no mother clapping for us in the audience, only Big Ma and sometimes Papa when he came home from work on time. Crowy and showy, Bonetta said. First of all, I wouldn't dare name her anything as silly as Ludy Bell, and my little girl would be happy I was a Disneyland movie star. She would tell her jealous friends at school, there goes my mother on TV. I'll bet your mother just fries pork chops and wrings wet clothes. My mother's on TV flying around in blue fairy dust, waving a magical wand in cute, sparkly outfit. The magic of Disneyland had won Fern over to Bonetta's side. It was all that blue fairy dust and magical wand stuff. Fern's eyes twinkled as she imagined having a colored fairy mother. I was looking to get Bonetta's goat, but I only ended up losing Fern, and Bonetta was her old self. And that's why you're like Cecile. You want to be a fairy on TV more than you care about how your kids will feel and if you miss them. Do not, and do too, went on between us until Cecile stomped back into the room and said, cut that crap out.